Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is that you're joining me for this video. Thank you once again for clicking on the Penboy Roy Fountain Pen Review channel. The subject of today's video is going to be the Opus 88 Picnic Fountain Pen. Before I get into the neutral zone, the good, the bad, the ugly, and high noon on this pen, I want to first go over some background information on the brand name that is Opus 88. Like TWSBI, they are made in Taiwan. They also started off as an OEM manufacturer just like TWSBI as well. OEM meaning Original Equipment Manufacturer. The founder of the brand is a man that goes by the name Michael Su, spelled H-S-U. He too, after years of making products and manufacturing products for other brands, said to himself, I am going to start making my own stuff, and he decided to do so with fountain pens. He then rebranded his company to what it is today, Opus 88. Now, why is it called Opus 88? Well, the word opus is a musical term that defines and explains what a chronological catalog of music is. You commonly see this with composers such as Beethoven. His works were cataloged using opus numbers. Other composers such as Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart used something called Kürzel. Johann Sebastian Bach, his works are commonly categorized using what's called Bach-Werke Verzeichnis. Michael Su decided to use opus. It's much easier than spelling Kürzel, definitely a lot easier to spell than Werke Verzeichnis. Followed the name with 88, probably because that's when his business started. Recently, the Opus Coloro was released. Shortly after, we have this pen, the Opus 88 Picnic. Why is it these pens are called Picnic? Well, to be honest with you, I have no idea. So that's all I have for the background information. Moving on to the neutral zone. Those elements about the pen that are neither good or bad, or can be good or bad, depending on you. Let me start with the nib. It's a number 5 stainless steel nib branded Opus 88. This one is a fine. The feed is a standard Jovo number 5 feed made of plastic. Both the nib and feed are part of a removable, unscrewable nib unit. At the base of the nib unit, closest to the nib, is the first of many O-rings. These are the threads to the housing that screws into the grip section. The grip section is a tapered grip section that comes to a flare. Inside of the grip section is also yet another O-ring, that's number 3. You can't see it from the picture, but trust me, it's there. This is the section opening. This holds approximately 1/10 of a milliliter of ink, even when the plunger is closed. I was able to get several pages of writing without any issues with this mini double reservoir. Just before the start of the threads of the grip section, there is yet another O-ring, and this screws into the body threads. Let's take a look at the threads of the interior of the body that meets the grip section, and then we have the outer body threads that screws into the cap. Here we have the body of the pen. It doesn't have any branding. This pen is filled with diamine dark forest, in case you were wondering. Towards the end of the body, we have the threads for the plunger assembly. Herein I'll be calling it the can. Then the inner threads for the blind cap. This is the piston blind cap. These are the threads to the blind cap. Our cap is also made of acrylic with 2 varying degrees of matte finish on the interior. The finial is attached to the cap using threads. The clip assembly is one single piece and is held in place by being trapped by the finial and the top of the cap threads. The clip is tension fixed, has a very traditional design with a slight ribbed pattern along the edges of the clip. At the bottom of the cap, all there is branding that says Opus 88. The pen came inside of a box that was inside of this sleeve. Inside the sleeve was a box with nonsense wannabe leather texture. On the lower left corner of the box reads since 1977, which is kind of confusing because their website does say they started in 1988. The box opens using a magnet flap. Inside the box is your pen, as well as the included eyedropper. This eyedropper is different from the Coloro eyedropper in that the Picnic eyedropper is made with gray rubber instead of red rubber, as well as the Picnic eyedropper doesn't have that weird little turn at the end of the nozzle. They must have wanted to make the eyedropper easier to use or distinguish it from the Coloro, in which case including the paperwork for the wrong pen could be considered by some as defeating in that purpose. That's all I have for the neutral zone. Moving on to the good. Those elements about the pen that are good. This pen straight out of the box wrote as any Jovo nib is expected to. It had no issues regarding skipping, ink flow, hard starting, ink starvation, burping, or anything that can taint a writing experience. The line width is, in this case, more comparable to an extra fine Jovo steel nib, and on par with a Japanese fine nib. This is moderate regarding wetness and dryness, but leans a touch towards the slightly dry side. It is toothy with feedback, yet consistent, never feeling like it ever hooks or catches paper. So although toothy and feedbacky, it's smooth. It also does have a very slight amount of drag. The overall weight and feel is light, and balance posted versus unposted is not noticeable. The threads on the body as well as the step are very well machined, so any type of writer will most likely not be encumbered by them. The ink capacity is huge, and at least for me, it's so much ink that before I'll even get to use it all, I'll most likely clean it out and put in a different ink. Oh yeah, that plunger thing, it prevents ink from burping, and that's always a plus. I honestly prefer this model to the Coloro. The overall shape is pill/cigar shaped, yet sleek, modern, and cool looking. Both the blind cap and finial are crystal-like. This is probably because they polished this thing as if Mr. Miyagi was training them to fight. By the way, that guy wasn't really Japanese. That's all I have for the good. Moving on to the bad. Let's talk coin. Now this pen has an MSRP of $99 and retails for $99. $99 is not a lot to ask for a full-bodied acrylic turned pen with a stainless steel number 5 Yovo nib. It has a very large ink capacity, and as I said, quality control is pretty much on point. However, there is one point of contention. And having said that, let me move on to the ugly. Those elements about the pen that should not be, but are. Once upon a time I was cleaning this pen. When the body was rinsed thoroughly and filling the pen would run clear water, I pulled the blind cap down and back just for good measure. What happened next? Good question. The water went from clear water to a refill of ink. So I repeated the process again and again for 20 friggin' minutes. The pen would eventually hold clear water, but as soon as I pulled the blind cap in and out, it was like friggin' magic. I thought somebody was playing a prank on me. Then I noticed that the blind cap threads had water trapped in it. About 3 or 4 rotation threads in. It was really annoying. I did everything I could to dry it out, but to no avail. So what did I do? I took the whole damn thing apart. I found out why the pen had a never-ending supply of ink. Here's why. See this disassembled plunger unit, that can in the middle? That's what the plunger rod runs through. It turns out that this thing is hollow. The only things in there are 2 O-rings at each end of the can and something to act as a spacer in between so that every time the rod runs in and out, it doesn't pull the O-rings away from the opening of the can. Here's what the spacer looks like. It seems to me the spacer is some kind of bird poop looking cork material that at some point compressed or degraded to the point that when the plunger rod ran through it, it pulled the O-rings away from the ends of the can, trapping ink inside. Then, the bird poop corking absorbed it. Knowing full well what I've done clearly voided the warranty, I just put my own spacer in to patch it up for now. So FYI, if your pen suddenly becomes a magical never-ending source of turning ink into water, and you find yourself cleaning your picnic for seemingly as long as it takes a really stubborn person to find the corner of a round room, this may be why. Finally, this cap requires 3 full rotations to cap and uncap. Combination locks require less turns. So that's all I have for the ugly. It's high noon. Decision-making time. Should you or should you not pull the trigger on the Opus 88 Picnic Fountain Pen? Compared to my Coloro, the Coloro didn't suffer from the same issue. In all fairness, this is not the Coloro, and this is not a review for the Coloro. And to make sure that my review is as honest and judicious as possible, what I have to do is treat the piece that I have as a representation of the whole, because a brand's line is only as good as the weakest pen within that line. Now, I'm not saying that this issue with the can is going to happen to everybody. However, if the one I have happens to do that, that means that there's a potential that it's going to happen to somebody else. So I have 2 answers. A, pull the trigger in hopes that this issue is not something that you will have to deal with, in which case you're getting a fantastic acrylic turned pen with a huge ink capacity that writes very well. And then on the other hand, if this sample is in fact a fair representation of all the picnic pens out there, and this issue is something you're going to have to deal with, do not pull the trigger on this pen. Unfortunately, the only way to find out is by using the pen, cleaning it, and having it happen to you. I'm sure that there are resolutions with regard to warranty or with the retailer, whomever you purchased it from, but just keep that in mind. This is a fantastic pen, and I do enjoy it very much. It writes very well, it has a very good look. However, this is something that needs to be fixed immediately. Whatever the reason is to make that can hollow and fill it with some sort of material that is degradable is a design flaw. It's not an issue of cutting corners, the rest of the pen being such high quality. It's only conceivable this was an issue that they didn't foresee. So that was my review on the Opus 88 Picnic. I hope you found this review helpful. And don't forget about the Penboy Roy Fountain Pen Review Channel discount code. What you do is you email me at penboyroy@gmail.com. I'm going to email you back a coupon code. What you do with that coupon code is you pick up the telephone, you call Goldspot Pens, you dial 207#, you get a nice lady named Dawn Johnson, you give her that code, and she will coordinate this discount for you. This discount code is exclusive to Penboy Roy Fountain Pen Review Channel subscribers. Thanks again for watching. Be well, be safe.